can someone tell me what is going on? I felt like, oh, I am Jack right now. He's the character that's us, or we're just like, what is happening?
Somebody, I don't care who, tell me what is going on.
What's up, YouTube? We are Drive-By Movies, and never have I ever seen Big Trouble in Little China. My name is James.
My name's Blaze.
And today we're going to take a deep dive look into this 1986 John Carpenter cult classic.
Way to go, Jack.
Jack Burton's coming to rescue your summer.
Hey, what more can a guy ask for?
20th Century Fox presents Kurt Russell in John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China.
So I have to say, I know you've never seen this for a while now. This has just been a movie that's kind of been sitting, you know, in the back of your shelf. Something you've had, like you've even owned. You've heard me talk about it. This is probably one of my favorite movies. And I'm curious, you know, what did you think your first time watching this movie? What'd you think?
Yeah, well, so I remember my first experience trying to watch it was when you came up with your idea for sequel. To go check that out if you'd love to see a sequel idea. Blaze came up with a fun idea. Something was coming up to where I knocked out and just couldn't get through it all, and I just never got a chance to finish it. But now that I've finally watched it, it's a little heady at first. So I was like, there's a lot of exposition, and I felt like, however, though, the character of Jack keeps saying the whole time, what the hell are you talking about? Or like, can someone tell me what is going on? I felt like, oh, I am Jack right now. He's the character that's us, or we're just like, what is happening? And once finally they start, like the plot starts to develop and they come across this leader, this evil sorcerer leader. That's when I was just sold and just like fell in love with the movie and was just cracking up laughing the entire time. Like that first 20 minutes, I was like, a lot's happening. What is going on? But once it gets going, like I was in love, and I see why you like it so much. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it and loved this movie.
Yeah, so sadly, I have to say this movie was a giant box office bomb. Before they even made this movie, Kurt Russell didn't want to be in it. Like he had already done a couple bombs with Carpenter, and Carpenter told him, you know, like this movie is like, I only really see you as Jack Burton. Like, I would love for you to be in this movie, and I don't even care if it bombs. And sadly, that dream came true. The film did bomb, but Kurt Russell was in it. So I don't think ultimately they cared so much about the bomb. The film has gone on to have this cult status. This is known as The Rock's favorite movie, similar to how Chris D'Elia was Justin Bieber's favorite comic. Everyone knows that this is The Rock's favorite movie. Everyone also knows that Chris D'Elia is still Justin Bieber's favorite comic.
Interesting.
I think it's still real, let's be honest.
Yeah. I love that was like one of the big things of the roast of Justin Bieber. Everyone just kept throwing, Chris D'Elia, what are you doing here? You're only here just because you're Justin Bieber's favorite comedian.
Yeah, and everyone knows like The Rock really wants to, I don't know if he wants to reboot or sequelize this movie really. And like you talked about it, like in my version of, you know, the sequel of this film, I definitely, you know, had to put The Rock in that role. I don't know if like you could make this movie, especially in like this political climate. I don't think this movie is at all, you know, like have any ill will or anything that's kind of even fishy, but I could just see people latching on to The Rock being in a movie and just wanting to take him down.
Yeah, I don't know if they brought up, but did they say it was San Francisco? I know that it does take place in San Francisco, but yeah, I mean, I grew up going to it. Did. Gotcha.
It's in Chinatown, San Francisco.
I mean, I recognize it right away.
That's why there's the tour buses, you know, like it has that ambiance and those vibes that just makes Chinatown so prolific.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up going there, and so like it was cool to see in the screen by. I wish like this is a movie I got to watch as a kid because, I mean, even though it's like I'm pretty sure it was rated R. I don't really remember any like inappropriate language or like, you know, heavy use of the word fuck or something. But like just like as a kid, I could just imagine this being like so much fun. Like the animation and like special effects are really cool in this movie, I'd say. Even though, you know, it's like you might say it's dated, they still hold up very well, especially like a lot of the crazy prosthetics. Like that weird ape creature creeped me out the first time I saw it. I was like, what the hell is this thing? And while there's not like any crazy quotable one-liners. Just everything Jack says, though, is like hilarious. And there's just like a lot of dull, funny moments. Like after kissing the girl towards the end of the movie, like the whole final fight scene, he's got lipstick on his like face. Like I was just dying laughing at just little things like that. And just like how he's just always like getting knocked out by accident or doing something stupid and like coming out a hero still at the end. Like it was just like funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most definitely, like Jack is definitely one of those characters that really makes the film so fun. And he's so before his time because people have really latched on recently to his type of bumbling idiot character. You know, like people absolutely love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like one of their favorite movies. They love Peter Quill. But Peter Quill is just a cheap Jack Burton. And you even see that in the sequel for Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when Kurt Russell's in that film and like he's the father of Star-Lord. So it's just obvious like hint back to the character that inspired this, you know, cinematic version you get of Star-Lord is, you know, based on a character like Jack Burton.
Right. Yeah. Also, I'd like to give a shout out just to the rest of the cast, though, too. I mean, sorry if I don't really remember all the actors' names like off the top of my head, but I remember seeing the actors from like Sex and the City. She was really enjoyable. Like she doesn't really feel like, even though like it is a rescue mission, like she never really asked for like the help or anything. She didn't feel like a damsel in distress at all times and stuff. She was like very comedic and just like kind of sarcastic throughout the entire movie. So I thought like that was cool. And then also I love the best friend character, Wang. Like I just thought like his chemistry with Kurt Russell was like pretty rad. And just like seeing him like do nonstop flips towards the end of the movie. Like I was just dying laughing. I love this like potion that gives them powers that they never describe. It's just like, you just got to go with it, man. Just have fun with this movie.
Yeah, and the actual cast is really what makes this movie. I don't think like a lot of people do think of Kurt Russell as the lead in this film because he's the movie star in this movie. But to be honest, it's an ensemble cast and Kurt Russell is just the sidekick because there's so many fight scenes where he really only has like one talent. And even the final fight scene in this film, he literally knocks himself out by like a piece of rock falling on his head. So he's just, you know, playing, you know, back fiddle in the back. He's like knocked out the whole film. There's even these funny like cutaways of him just knocked out while this whole like fight is going on. So like Kurt Russell right there in the front, you think, this is his movie. He's the hero. Like he's not really the hero. This movie is, you know, watching a heroic movie where you're taking the sidekick's perspective. Like we are following Kurt Russell the whole time and seeing his, you know, point of view, but it's not him as the hero. It's really Wang. Like he's the one who steps up and becomes this hero. That's why I think this film, I don't think this film is a cult classic, but I think this film should honestly really have some type of revitalization to just see how cool it is to have these characters that a lot of people, you know, have been talking about for years, you know, at least the past 10 years, like these underrepresented characters and underrepresented points of view. Like this film definitely has those at the forefront. You know, you see strong characters like Kim Cattrall or Wang in this film really take center stage. And hey, you know, Kurt Russell's in there and you are watching from his point of view, but you can really see these cool, interesting characters that make the film so fun.
Yeah. Just seeing them all come together, like it really felt like a team unit and stuff, because there's not one specific character that's the badass that gets everything done. It's everyone really working together. And you see that throughout the entire like ending of the movie and stuff. And along the way getting there, there's just like so many just like funny comedic elements too that just like make it so much more enjoyable. Like just I remember a scene where they all want to switch guns for some reason. Like they have like everyone's carrying a specific gun and they switch it 3 ways. And then there's like a Dirty Harry reference where they offer like a ginormous ass like Magnum kind of style gun or revolver. Sorry, I'm not a gun expert, but like just there's just like such weird jokes. It really feels ahead of its time. But then again, that's kind of like all John Carpenter movies. It's just a bummer that like he never had that successful like movie after like Halloween, when like Halloween I love, but like so many movies I think are better than Halloween that he made. Like The Thing is one of my favorites of all time. I love They Live, and this is up there too now, I'd say. And just a bummer that all these movies were like critical failures, both financially and critically.
Yeah. And this was actually PG-13, so it's even more of a bummer that it's even more of a bummer that it bombed, to be honest. Because like you said, it's just so fun, especially if you're a kid. Like this movie would be like I can literally see myself in Dwayne Johnson's shoes watching this movie as a child and just being like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. I would love to remake this if it become a Hollywood mogul. So something I did also want to look into is just how influential this movie was. We talked about Bloodsport a couple weeks ago. This movie is also the influence of another Mortal Kombat character.
I was just
Raiden.
thinking that too. Yeah. Raiden, right? Yeah. I was just thinking, like, I was like, oh yeah, Bloodsport, like the theme seems very familiar. And then of course, like Johnny Cage is based off of the Muscles from Brussels. But yeah, then this, like when I read that, I was like, what? Like, of course, like Raiden's inspired by this movie. But it's a bummer though that we never got a sequel for this. I mean, maybe from what I read, it sounds like the new Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's version of it is going to be a sequel and not a remake by any means. And apparently they don't want to recast Kurt Russell or anything. I think Dwayne is supposed to play a new character. That's from what I was reading, according to the studio's thoughts on
according from what they stole from me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my story that I had.
So with that, like, you know, I'd love to see, like, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, even though it's over 30 years old. It came out in 1986, so I would make it about 34 years old now. But yeah, it definitely left room for a sequel, and just a bummer that financially it just wasn't there for them.
Mm-hmm. And we can't talk about a John Carpenter movie without talking about the score. And I have to say, like, the Pork Chop Express theme that just starts off with, Kurt Russell driving across. Yeah, I don't know if it's the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a bridge. Maybe it's the Bay Bridge. But they have this song going, and it just really gets you into that, blue collar life that Kurt Russell's character, Jack Burton, is living. And I thought just the score is just so much fun. Even at the end, like the end credits song is hilarious and fun. Like the score is just something there. That's just a ton of fun in this movie.
I've always been joking. I forgot what movie made me bring it up, but I was like saying how I miss when they would make a song specifically for a movie that has like the title of the movie and the lyrics and stuff. Like one I always remember is Pet Sematary by Ramones. That I always thought that was utilized very well because it was made specifically for the movie. But yeah, this had one of those, and I thought that was cool.
Terror Vision, we watched that, had an awesome theme song. I
think
love
that's
this
what
movie
made me think
songs.
about it.
Yeah, they're just so fun, like to have like it's Big Trouble in Little China. It's just so funny. Like, I don't know. That just it makes it just, it's really campy. It's really fun. Like, and it just really ties the whole film together there in the end credits. Yeah.
And Carpenter knew what he was doing. Like, it's not like this movie is campy and just didn't age well. Like, that's exactly what Carpenter was going for and stuff. And just like I said, like sometimes like audiences might not just have been ready for that at that moment. Not that satire didn't exist back then. Of course it did. But just seeing it in such a weird premise of a movie and stuff, like it's a bummer that it failed, but because it's like so wild and such a fun ride. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. And thank you for recommending it to me.
Yeah. And lastly, I do want to look at like an alternate universe that could have existed. And something that really made me sad when I finally read this like trivia, when we were like gearing up for the show, I was like, read this and I was just so disappointed, so sad that this didn't actually happen. I think there's an alternate universe where Jackie Chan does play Wang's character.
Right.
Like he wasn't, Carpenter really pushed to get Jackie Chan in that role. But his English at the time, Jackie Chan wasn't that good. I think his films had just like Police Story had just come out. So he was successful like in China, and it would have been a perfect, like I'm thinking about like Bruce Lee in The Green Hornet. It would have been this perfect role for Jackie Chan. But Chan had, I think, declined or something. I think Chan declined, but also they were struggling with Lawrence Gordon, one of the producers, who thought that he just wasn't right for the part because he couldn't speak English. I do think Dennis Dunn did a great job. I think it just would have been like a cool alternate universe seeing Jackie Chan in the role of Wang. And the stunts might have been a little more epic. I don't know. Like, I think Dennis Dunn did a great job, but you got to go with a master like Jackie Chan when it comes to martial arts. It could have been really cool. Yeah. One of my complaints when I watched Escape from New York was just like some of the action sequences. Like they felt like it was weird seeing wide shots, but like the stunt coordination was just like a little dorky and cheesy. Whereas this, like, it's a lot more faster paced, but there's a lot more quick cuts and close ups to where it feels more natural and like looks a little bit more realistic and stuff and doesn't feel cheesy, even though, you can see that there's a lot of choreography going into it and stuff. It just works and is edited better. So to see where John Carpenter went just less than a decade later, it came a long way, I thought. Yeah, most definitely. So I'm glad you finally got a chance to watch this movie, honestly, because I feel like it's just been waiting, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was a really fun time. If you haven't seen it, definitely recommend to check it out. Best way to help us out is by watching the movie itself. You can check it out through our Amazon affiliate link in the description box below. Do that. Leave a comment on here and let us know what you thought.
And if you haven't already, guys, definitely smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to know when a new video comes out.
Drive-By Movies concluding this week's episode of Never Have I Ever. Tune in next week for another new video.